Half a century ago, this was the way the British reached most corners of their empire. Whilst glamorous passenger liners and luxurious seaplanes may have stolen the limelight, what ferried most of the empire makers to and from their distant outposts were the humble working cargo boats. Today it's a form of passenger travel that's almost extinct, but not quite. I discovered one of the last of the species. And ahead lay an extraordinary 7,500-mile voyage to the Caribbean and back in the company of 11 other passengers I'd never met and a cargo of 15 million bananas. The passengers met just before going aboard in the banana company's office on the dockside, making a great effort, of course, to create the right first impression. 5 apparently respectable couples, a youthful-looking widow with a distinct twinkle in her eye called Dorothy.
Well, we'll find that out.
And me, a group of total strangers who over the next month would have no choice but to share intimately each other's company. On a banana boat, there's no escape from your fellow travellers, although whether we'd end up loving or loathing each other, we'd shortly begin to find out. A chap called Ken, who'd done the trip once before, got things off to a rather ominous start.
It's ridiculous. I don't know whether I ought to say this. There was another couple who we discovered well into the cruise that they had separated, but they joined together again, you know, to make it all up.
And did they make it up?
No.
Already there seemed to be trouble brewing in our party. A gentleman called John Atchison was anxiously asking a company representative if his passports could be flown out to the West Indies because he'd just realised he'd left them at home.
Post office, special delivery.
His wife, Pat, didn't seem amused.
Well, everything's gone fairly smoothly, you know. Nice not having to leave till about midday. Done all the packing, everything's very calm. And we drove along nicely and slowly. Then I asked the question. I said, have you got the passports, you know? I just wondered if he'd done his one job. And of course, he hadn't.
Talk about male
Since
shows.
then.
The old coaling port of Barry in South Wales may not be the most romantic of departure points. But the glittering prospect of what lay ahead gave some of us at least a sense of great nervous excitement. Once out into the blustery greyness of the Bristol Channel, next stop would be in the blistering heat of Antigua, West Indies, the passengers soon got down to the exhausting business of shipboard life. And despite a slightly chilly atmosphere amidst the need for much stiffening of upper lips in the face of a fresh sou'westerly, we all seemed to be rubbing along quite well.
I haven't known the others long, but are they all right? There's not,
Jolly good lot. Yes, great fun, great fun. So whether we should be like this at the end of 3 weeks or not, I don't know. But yes, it's splendid.
Mary is married to John Spalding, recently retired chief executive to one of the world's biggest finance houses, the Halifax Building Society, who's now hoping to achieve the ambition of a lifetime by finishing the collected works of Samuel Pepys, the famous 17th century London diarist.
I'm still working at him. I want to do the Fire of London now. That's really what I've been saving for this voyage.
On the upper deck of the Geestbay, 7,000 tons, registered in Boston, England, and designed for speed to get the bananas home as fast as possible, what is probably the most important meeting of the entire voyage is now in progress in the captain's cabin.
We have myself and the chief officer on this table, if that's all right.
Right, yes,
yourself and the first engineer, David.
The decisions being made here are indeed far-reaching. The skipper, Geoffrey Foster, is deciding on the seating plan for the dining room.
That's right. Mr. Edgar is...
He's enlisted the help of the purser, Derek, who in the few hours since embarkation, and with the eye of a private detective, has been observing and noting the developing relationships between passengers.
Mrs. Barrett and Mr. Smith seem to make a beeline for Mrs. Lindsay, and they seem to get on quite well together.
Fine.
So I thought those on that table.
Right.
And then we have the Spaldings and the Atchisons, the other two couples, and Mr. Farrell.
Leskits. Are they called leskits?
Yes. Unplug it and put it on the next jacket when you buy it.
And I heard this Peter, I thought, he's delaying my gin and tonic. Should I get in the bath?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dinner is served. Thank you.
The formality of dinner was a revelation. But then, as I was rapidly discovering, on a ship like this, there really isn't anything else to do but to dress up and eat. In the seating plan stakes, I'd come up trumps. On my right, John Spalding, John S. as we called him, who was already beginning to sound like Pepys.
What a very perceptive comment on this.
And on my left, German-born John Atchison, or John H., who for the last 15 years of his career was a director of England's most exclusive bank, Coutts of the Strand, where the royal family hold their accounts. As well as forgetting the passports, he was also trying to disguise the fact that he'd left his cufflinks at home, and I warmed to him immediately. Beside John H., his wife Pat.
You said don't touch this subject with a barge rope.
They met when she worked behind the counter at the bank. She was to spend most of the voyage trying to stop him getting onto his favourite subject of why he's a pessimist.
What had happened if you launch yourself onto that subject, what I'm suggesting is don't.
The warning you...
And if he does, quickly start talking about something else.
Very well.
It is so depressing.
The purser, Derek, had rather slyly positioned himself next to the only single lady on board, the merry widow Dorothy, who was doing her best to ignore him. Opposite her was Joan and Ken, the chairman of a men's clothing retailers association. He was always dapper, even down to the bow tie.
Joan has been nurturing all through the winter.
On the captain's table, David, an architect, and his unfailingly cheerful wife, called Jo. She rarely stopped laughing. We're getting chummy with Glenn, a retired police chief superintendent from Glasgow, and his wife Betty, who would in time stun us with her astonishingly large wardrobe.
Well, no.
As I was soon to discover, there was a great deal more to learn about my new shipmates, but for the moment we looked a happy enough crew. Jollied along by our irrepressibly jovial captain and sprinkling of senior officers who'd learnt from years of practice
Comes out in his shorts or his long trousers.
to disguise the fact that dinner was a duty and keeping us passengers happy just part of the job. My only regret from that first night dinner was that if I'd realised we were sailing right into the teeth of a force 8 gale, I might not have eaten quite so much. Dawn, the North Atlantic gale. The narrow Geestbay, unencumbered by namby-pamby luxuries beams like stabilizers, was thundering along at 19 knots. Dorothy was the first obvious victim, wisely deciding to remain in bed all morning and looking not at all merry. Whilst the rest of us, having had a highly mobile and sleepless night, assembled silently in the passengers' lounge for some rather grisly pre-breakfast entertainment, provided with the aid of an orange and the appalling roll of the ship. The dining room steward, Alan, appeared to be behaving most mysteriously. It turned out that a heavy roll, giving the tablecloth a good soaking with hot water, made cutlery and china stick fast, mixed with superglue. And with everyone secured safely in their seats, breakfast commenced.
Did you feel that, Rob?
I'm afraid Joe, ever since after, did nothing to quell my growing queasiness, made worse by the fact that everyone around me seemed to be gorging themselves with the full English breakfast, of course, especially John H., whose slim frame belied a voracious appetite.
I think I feel a bit seasick watching that egg.
Struggling to control my rising nausea, I began to realise I may have been a bit ambitious by ordering a kipper. Somehow, this one. Mercifully, Mother Nature intervened with a massive roll that said coffee, milk and kipper all over me and all over the floor.
I think I'll finish them later, if I may. Yeah, you can have that.
Made it to the lounge, sat down, next thing I went to the cabin. Whoops. Much better down there. Sitting at breakfast and looking at the other ones having kids, making an egg and I don't know, they must have cast iron stomachs.
Can you think about making an egg now?
No. No. See what lunch brings.
See what lunch brings up.
Probably, yeah.
I had to admire her, even in adversity, and Joe was still able to laugh.
Do you know Rita's address? Do we have to look it up?
For the Halifax chief executive, John S., and his wife Mary, bad weather at sea isn't the only one.
They're all there.
18 years ago, Mary, an outstanding operatic soprano, developed emphysema, a disease of the lung which has left her so breathless she can't walk more than 100 yards.
I haven't got breath, but obviously I had. The voice is still there. But that's why I can't sing anymore, because I haven't got the breath. Yes, I used to do a lot. And this emphysema developed.
Sadness.
Terribly. Oh, yes, the worst thing that happened to me in my life, really. Yes, it was... it was my life, really, as well as being a wife and mother. It was my great hobby. It was, yes, it was a great hobby.
I think it's quite brave of you, even so, for you all this way, a long way from doctors.
No, I wouldn't say so. I'd rather come halfway. But if I died halfway across, at least I'd have enjoyed half of it, won't I?
I mean, we took a decision years ago that we might as well live life as fully as we can and get out of it what we can. Because the alternative being to cool yourself and do practically nothing, you see, which is very boring. Like, it shortens life 5 years. It doesn't really matter.
So a mind-bendingly simple deck game called shuffle became the all-consuming passion. Passengers and crew arranged to play against each other in every possible permutation, so that a knockout competition lasted for days on end.
I waited for a right-hand roll and spun it right back. Yes, that's fine. Yes. Let it go then.
If you wait for the banana shot, then it could be in all kinds of milk.
Eventually I realised that the key to shuffleboard is to use the roll of the ship to your advantage, voyage, a technique rapidly mastered by Atchison, who took the game very seriously indeed. An attitude not, sad to say, shared by her husband. Maddeningly, Pat won every game she played.
Yes, well, Glenn. Glenn, we're sulking together.
Such was the enormous fatigue created by the excitements that it often took hours for participants to recover. Soon even the attractions of the collective acts of Samuel seemed eminently irresistible. I noticed another interesting phenomenon. Things which in the real world scarcely raised the glimmer of a smile suddenly appeared quite hilarious, and not just to Joe.
Give it a good strong ring.
There weren't so many old sea dogs came home from long voyages off their heads. And in the evening, those endless formal five-course dinners, with the ladies competing with gritted teeth to see how long it would take for someone to wear the same evening dress twice. Here Scott Betty came to her own after the green-tasseled number, a succession of glorious gowns which, once worn, were never to be seen again. Quite how she managed to fit a different outfit for each of the 26 days of the voyage in her baggage allocation we never discovered, and of course everyone was too polite to ask.
Amazing. He knows all the answers.
Each evening the captain and officers revolved from seat to seat and table to table to avoid offending any of us. And whilst she may no longer have enough breath for singing, Joe, Mary clearly wasn't finding laughing a problem.
What would be nice is if you could all glasses.
Meanwhile, I was determined to get my banana boat photo album started.
Give you the word, okay? Okay, and cheers.
Unfortunately, discovered later, the ship had taken an unexpected roll, just at the wrong moment.
What Otto Teitsling invent? Otto Teitsling. Spelling...
After dinner, there were hours of general knowledge quizzes to get through, which Derek the purser attempted to pep up as the voyage proceeded with increasingly risque questions.
Brazier.
Someone's said to
And a curiously adaptive form of shipboard horses, which proved just a little stressful at times, especially for dapper Ken and Joan.
There is a long sense, feeling of being suspended in time, where the ship just chunters on and on. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
It's very easy to lose track
Very
of the
easy.
days, isn't it?
Yes, yes. And it's such a long, drawn-out process. You know, totally opposed to rushing into London Airport, jumping on the plane, fasten your seatbelts, and 5 minutes later you're there.
Day 3. The rather wicked feeling of utter and complete idleness had now begun to set in most of us. Most of us who were on holiday, that is. Our West Indian deckhands toiled away ceaselessly to keep the boat shipshape. For those of them who hadn't been home for 3 months, like seaman Arnie Ferguson, the voyage was something to be got through as quickly as possible. In contrast, the passengers had never been in less of a hurry in their lives.
Too far. I particularly enjoy 16 days, 8 there and 8 back, of looking outside and seeing absolutely nothing. Water.
Yes, we both like that. It's lovely.
But you've told me several times, John, that you're a pessimist. How can you really be enjoying yourself on this voyage?
Difficulty.
No. By and large, this is like this. By and large, I consider the human animal to be not a very nice animal. And I want it away from people. And it's refreshing for me to find myself for 3-4 weeks with this occasion 12 people. And there isn't amongst them a single one where I'm saying to myself, God, dreadful fellow.
Is he really such a pessimist?
Well, he's a cultivated pessimist to an extent. I think he rather wallows in all of this.
No, I may wallow
He
in it, but it's not
enjoys it,
cultivated.
and he likes to be very outlandish, you know. Not many people are prepared to say they're such a pessimist.
So will you end this voyage slightly less of a pessimist, do you think?
Oh, no. Good heavens, no. No, I should go back.
That would be asking
Yes.
far much now.
What's the game? Your ball is black and blue, and your opponents are red and yellow.
Now putting our money on the next race.
Gradually, the rest of the world ceased to exist. Even the starched reserve of the English officers appeared to recede just a little. Midnight, mid-Atlantic, and our first sight of land for 4 days. These are the distant and rather eerie lights of the isolated Portuguese archipelago of the Azores, and rather solemnly we realise that whilst we may be surrounded by thousands of miles of sea, on this trip at least, Geestbay isn't stopping. Outward bound, the cargoes all destined for the Windward Islands of the West Indies, still nearly 2,000 miles away. The holds that on the return journey will be filled with millions of bananas are now crammed with essential supplies for the islanders. Lorries and second-hand cars, which out there are worth a small fortune, tons and tons of tea bags, and 17,000 bottles of scotch. Halfway mark of our journey, it was becoming increasingly obvious that the biggest problem of all was keeping up with the food. The ship appeared to be stuffed to the gums with an inexhaustible supply of things to eat. John H. ate twice as much as the rest of us, beginning with his 5-course breakfast, working on through the 5-course lunch, to finish on the 5-course dinner, which for him was a particularly pessimistic moment because there wasn't anything else till breakfast, whilst Scott's Betty had meals other than dinner to show off her amazing daytime wardrobe. For my part, I resolved that unless drastic action was taken to reduce my plimsoll line without delay, I was in imminent danger of exploding. The answer is simple. I decided that to keep in trim, I'd swim 35 lengths of the banana boat swimming pool every day of the voyage. Oh yes, we had a swimming pool on this ship, no expense spared. and it turned out to be exactly the right size. Mind you, when all the passengers decided to go for a swim at once, well, that was amusing. So it seemed at the time, anyway, especially, of course, to Joe. By day 6, weighed down with the of sheer greed and enforced indolence, I was beginning to itch for land. And yet even now the capacity of the banana boat and its crew to keep us entertained seemed limitless. The young Scots officer cadet Cameron on his first voyage has been told to wait on the aft deck for a mail helicopter to deliver the ship's parcels. His fellow officers promised to let him know as soon as the helicopter got over the horizon.
Winch comes down, I'll drop off a back, that one back on. Sounds a bit hazardous. Yeah. Have you done this before? No. It's hazardous.
It looked as though Cameron might be in for a long wait. Meanwhile, Pat was using psychological tactics in her eagerly awaited match against the skipper.
Oh, lucky. Very lucky.
Fresh line?
And Dougie, our Welsh bar steward, had started on his first batch of lunchtime cocktails.
Not quite enough rum, Dougie. Otherwise splendid.
And still young Cameron waited for word of his mail helicopter under the beating noonday sun. Pat rather predictably thrashed the captain.
I did get off to a good start, didn't I? 2 free.
And Dougie got started on more of his apparently unending supply of great passengers of the past stories.
We've had one jump over the side.
Really?
Yeah, then first swim on the ship.
Is he alright?
Yeah, he's fine, yeah. West Indians fished him out in the banana birches.
Radio contact, the chopper should be with us now in less than 2 minutes.
Eventually it began to dawn on Cameron that he'd been set up. There is no mail helicopter service in the middle of the Atlantic, of course. This was just the banana boat initiation test, which all officer cadets are traditionally subjected to.
I'm afraid the helicopter's gone elsewhere.
I thought he took it pretty well under the circumstances. And it did make a change from shuffleboard. That evening, though, Cameron got his own back. He did what all the other officers had wanted to do all through the trip, but hadn't dared ask. He danced with Pat Atchison. Once out of uniform, there was no stopping that old romantic Derek the Purser either, much, of course, to Joe's amusement. And there, at dawn on day 8, was land at last, the grey and unassuming silhouette of Antigua. Suddenly, we were back to reality. It was the nearest we were ever likely to get to the feeling Columbus must have had when he discovered these islands whilst searching for a western route to India 500 years ago. We'd been carried over 3,500 miles, and we still hadn't seen a banana yet.
I'm delighted to see it. I think after 8 days you'll begin to think you'll sail the Atlantic forever and ever, like the Flying Dutchman.
What really took me aback was the bombardment of noises and smells that landlubbers take for granted. Within minutes of docking, the ship had started to clear her holds of cargo, whilst we wasted no time at all in getting on the well-worn tourist trail.
Betty, you're rocking slightly.
Am I? I'm not conscious of it.
It was exhilarating to be on tropical terra firma. The fact that at first it all looked much too much like the holiday brochures to be very intriguing didn't seem to matter a bit. It was, however, to be a short-lived luxury. Less than 6 hours after docking, and we were sailing again to unload at the next island. The sooner we were clear of tea bags and whiskey, the sooner we could start taking on bananas. This was to be the familiar, frantic pattern of the next few days. The Geestbay is first and foremost a working cargo boat, and time is money, just as it was in the days of the great clipper races. And for us, it meant grabbing what time ashore as we could. If I thought any of us, especially Mary, would be tempted to give up for lack of puff, I couldn't have been more wrong. Considering we never seemed to stop in any one place for more than a few hours, I was surprised how quickly we all slipped into the casual Caribbean spirit.
What are they going to say about this back home in Hazelmere?
I dread to think what my hairdresser will say when I arrive.
Are you going to keep them in?
I'm going to try and keep them until the family see me, and then they'll say, "Oh, mother."
I've never been to the Caribbean before. Well, look at where we're sitting. This is all it's supposed to be, isn't it?
At last, in St. Lucia, we saw what we'd come all this way for. It may not be much to look at, but as we were about to discover, there's a lot more to the banana than meets the eye.
Every one of these has to be cut with a knife, sharp knife.
They only start cutting a few hours before the ship docks, and as I watched them at work, I realised that the banana must have been one of the original fruits in the Garden of Eden, because not only is it luxurious to eat, but it's unbelievably easy to grow. The trees are so soft you just pull them down and get hacking. You don't even need to plant a new tree. The old one grows new shoots quite unaided, a fact which greatly impressed John H.
What do you make of that?
Well, life. Life in its most interesting and basic form. Like an amoeba. You know what an amoeba is?
Yeah.
Self-perpetuating, single nucleus.
Wonderful, isn't it?
Marvellous.
Miraculous. Whoops, steady, John. Well, that's it. Keep it like that and smile.
But the banana plantations are far more than just curios for passing tourists. For these islands, bananas have long since replaced spices and sugar as the biggest single source of income, way ahead of tourism. And without this slightly comical-looking fruit and its lucrative foreign markets, their economies would be in ruins. That's why these people regard hurricanes with unashamed terror and study daily fluctuations in world prices with trepidation. This was, after all, the only reason the Geestbay had come so far. And as she retraced her steps up the islands to fill up her refrigerated holds with millions and millions and millions of those precious bananas, I decided that the time had come to leave behind my fellow travellers for once and set off as far away as possible from the tourist track in the hope of discovering a few more hidden truths about Columbus's magical islands. The origins of the dramatic physical beauty that surrounds you aren't hard to find. These are volcanic islands, and when you walk on a collapsed crater like this one, you can feel the heat singeing the rubber of your shoes and your toes start to tingle. The violent volcanic movements had produced thousands of mountain streams and the kind of lush landscape medieval philosophers told their audiences heaven would undoubtedly look like. Yet the extraordinary fact is that traditionally the deeply religious people who live in what the Americans and Europeans like to think of as paradise islands simply couldn't wait to get away. Inland from the tourist resorts, or at least just out of sight, there's no shortage of poverty, the result of an almost total lack of industry. In fact, it's a prospecting industrialist's nightmare. No raw materials, no skilled industrial workforce, no capital. The streets are full of people with no work to do and little prospect of any. And yet nobody predicted it. Up until quite recently, the idea would have been thought cranky. But now, growing numbers of the émigrés of the 40s, 50s and 60s are starting to return from the dubious delights of the so-called developed countries.
I mean, this is a good place to me.
It's been good to you?
Yeah, I've been to abroad. You understand? Yeah. I have to come back. We have banana. We have anything. You understand? We have anything. You have the shintanya, you have tomato. We have everything here. You understand? Yeah, I love here.
I thought again about the West Indian deckhands I'd watched working on our banana boat. 30 years ago, men like Arnie Ferguson and his mate Martin Simon would have jumped at the chance of taking themselves and their families off to a new life in the wealth of the big cities they would have heard so much about. Now they prefer to remain based on their home islands, and when it's time for their turn for leave, that's the only place they want to be.
You like that?
Real good.
You look real good.
Yeah. It's nice to be home, isn't it?
That's sure is.
Yeah, it's nice to be home.
Those who've earned enough abroad can buy their own houses in places that must feel like palaces to anyone who's ever had to live in an inner city block. Who can blame them for wanting to return? It didn't take me long to be taken in by the infectious magnetism of these islands.
From the food to your living is good.
Would you like to live anywhere else in the world?
Well, maybe for a little while, but I like to live in St. Lucia. I could go and visit another country, but to live, I like to live in St. Lucia.
Why?
Well, I'll say because of the life. Because it's unspoiled, it's good, the atmosphere, everything is good. I don't grow old.
You don't grow old?
I don't think nobody would like to grow old.
You're going to stay like that?
Yeah,
forever?
Because, yeah, the age will grow up, but the physical or the spiritual part will stay level.
How old are you now?
Well, I was 85, but I'm back to 42. Okay? I remember the name Christmas.
Goodbye, Christmas. What's your second name?
Christmas Justin.
Christmas Justin.
Okay?
Goodbye.
All right. So long.
Bye-bye.
Christmas was right. After all, nobody need go hungry in the West Indies. And there's an undisguised joy about the people I've never found elsewhere. This lady suddenly burst into song in the middle of Wednesday morning market because she felt like it, and no one batted an eyelid.
Let me up and I shall not be moved.
I couldn't help wondering what would have happened if she'd done this in my local supermarket.
Yeah. Are you the strongest man in the town?
Apart from narrowly becoming embroiled with the local prize fighter, who was trying to demonstrate how he punched another man off a harbour wall and into the sea,
Punch like a man and do it so. Do it so. Facts, and it go by the water. That is me do that. By pigeon point, yeah. You see that in the...
Thank you for talking to me.
Yeah.
I quite rapidly decided that this was a part of the world where I could happily remain for a very long time indeed. It's normally just as I reach this conclusion about a place I like that I realise it's time to go. On the way back to the boat, I couldn't resist a quick look at the only cathedral I've ever seen with a roof made entirely out of corrugated iron. They might not be rich, but they do have style.
I am amazed how wonderful everybody looks in their clothes. It's so colourful.
Well, we're making an effort. We're making an effort. And when we have, let's say like that, when I have a clothes, I doesn't really waste it. I sacrifice, I keeping it, taking care of it so that it can last me for 3 years, 2 years. So you will always see it beautiful.
You all look beautiful here.
And you too.
On the return journey, desperate attempts were made to keep us entertained. There were trips around the engine room. There were trips around the bridge.
Press the red button. Press the red button.
That then lets the ships know that we're in the area. Did you like pressing the heater?
Yes, it was great.
Well, it's
The
satisfying.
highlight of my trip so far.
Pat finally put us out of our misery by becoming champion of champions at shuffleboard, which meant at last we didn't have to play anymore.
Wasn't it super? Couldn't have been closer. No, it could not. Either of us could have.
She was awarded the coveted silver banana for her outstanding contribution to the sport.
So it was great fun. I'm delighted to have won this charming gift, and I shall treasure it always.
Dougie kept us enthralled for a time by challenging us to see how long we could blow the wheel of his ancient copper pipe. It wasn't all it seemed, of course. If you knew its secret, the wheel turned easily enough. But if you didn't... One by one, the passengers came into the bar to fall unhesitatingly for the joke. John S. was convinced the answer was to cover the holes around the pipe's bowl with your fingers. While Dorothy told me all you had to do was suck. Only that wily old Teutonic brain was able to work out the pipe's magical secret. We were also back to the general knowledge quizzes, with the modest winners being honoured in the traditional manner, and the losers fighting to hide their disappointment. And there appeared an awful lot of the great diarist still to be read.
How's the progress on Peeps?
We've covered 1664, just about. We're in December.
At this present rate of progress, I don't think you're going to get it completed, are you, by the end of the voyage?
I'm certainly not, no, because I've got to get to 1668.
Somehow, though, something was missing. My thoughts were constantly back there in the islands Christmas had said stopped him growing old. At last, as we slowly drew close to the English coast, it was time for the final photo for my album.
Okay, everybody say... Cheese! Okay, let's do it again. Cheese! Sorry, there's a problem, sorry. Cheese.
Arriving back into the chilly, damp air of South Wales didn't quite have the appeal of Antigua or St. Lucia or Grenada. Somehow, I miss the palm trees. Without any doubt, we'd all made some very good friends.
Thank you so much, John, for all you've done.
Great.
It fell on John H. to say what everybody says at the end of a journey like this, but nobody really means.
I love you all.
Are we ever going to see each other again, do you
Yes.
think?
Yes. Either in town or business. Business, my boy.
And since it was the kind of journey I'm unlikely ever to have the opportunity to repeat, I just thank goodness I'd remembered my camera.